You stole what? Pippy, you can't just take things from... You couldn't have just waited a week for the full release? Oh no. Planescape Adventures in the Multiverse is here for early access pre-orders, and I am excited. If you saw my previous video, you know I threw myself at Planescape resources this past year. And now that this is finally in our hands, let's talk about our return to Sigil. A quick preface is that I only have the digital product at the moment, thus I can't speak too much on the physical product. What we do know is that it comes in a slipcase just like Spelljammer did. It comes with Sigil and Outland's guidebook, a monster book, and an adventure. All of these are fairly short as they are sharing space, and it also comes with some beautiful poster maps. And let me tell you, these poster maps are gorgeous. There are two, one for the Outlands and another for Sigil itself. Each were illustrated by Francesca Berold, an artist who blows me away every time with their maps, and this is no different. Critics lauded the art of the original Planescape campaign setting, and the art here feels like a worthy successor to that praise. It's colorful, vibrant, and busy. It invokes wonder. The artists and art directors knocked this one out of the park. But that's the art, and what about the content? Again, there are 3 books, so let's start with the Sigil and the Outlines, which is the guidebook. The introduction here does a fine job about letting you know about Planescape and how it should be different from other settings before heading into the player options. There are 2 new backgrounds here, the Gate Warden and the Planar Philosopher. The Gate Warden is a character that spent a significant amount of time near a portal to another plane, and as such has been influenced by that plane. You learn 2 languages and they suggest Abyssal, Celestial, or Infernal, exotic languages that should signal to the player that these beings will be commonplace. The Planar Philosopher starts the character as a member of one of the factions, giving a skill dependent on which faction they choose. And both give the Scion of the Outer Planes feat, which is a stacking feat that is similar to the design in Bigby's Glory of the Giants. A player will choose which kind of plane they wish to have an affinity for, and will get a damage resistance and cantrip depending on their choice. Once this character reaches level 4, they have the option of choosing an additional feat that stacks on top of the Scion feat. And which one the character can take depends on which planar affinity the character has. Each feat gives a +1 ASI and a neat little ability. These are fairly flavorful and range from combat to utility. As far as the balance of these options, I don't see anything outrageous. I know people really like to crunch numbers and whiteboard builds, but I won't do that here. I do have a DPR calculator. If you're interested in such things, please do visit and give me feedback on it. Link in the description. For magic items, there are 3 new ones. A compass that helps one locate the last portal the compass traveled through, a sensory stone that transfers the essence of an experience to the wielder, and a mimir, which is a talking construct that you can cast legend lore with. I love these little things. Chapter 2 introduces Sigil and gives a rundown on the features such as gravity, weather, day-night, as well as alterations to specific types of magic. One omission from the 2e setting is that magic functions largely the same in different planes, as opposed to being modified by what plane it is cast on. I understand why they did that, because when you really look at those 2e tables that tell you how different schools are affected in different planes, it's a lot. It's a lot of overhead. Of course, you can always add that back in as the DM, and there are some exceptions to spells in Sigil proper, such as summoning spells. The Lady doesn't allow any outsiders to pass into the city through those means. And speaking of, the Lady of Pain is also given a good write-up in this section. This is also the section that factions appear. There are 12 factions, and they are largely the same as the ones you might be familiar with, some with just new names. The end of the chapter has a rundown of the different wards of Sigil and what each houses, as well as adventure hooks. These hooks include faction missions, multiverse threats, and encounters. Chapter 3 covers the Outlands. Each gate town is overviewed. The book tells you who rules the town, who the primary citizens are, some history and hazards, and adventure hooks. It's an excellent section and a useful resource. The second book in the slipcase is Mort's Planar Parade. That's right, Mort returns. This time Mort is giving us the bark and some new monsters. It's a little hard to talk about this section as the monster really does need to be played before you can have an opinion on it. But one thing that does stick out to me is the section that provides little templates to a planar influence creature. For instance, an Acheron influence creature gets pack tactics and more, while the Abyss influence creature is given siege monster and more. So let's talk about some of the monsters that caught my eye and I'm particularly excited for. And the first is the Maleficent. Holy crud, this design is incredible, and this block looks really deadly and fun to use. There are also time dragons that can send your party 8,000 years into the future or past. Talk about an inconvenience. And something I've been eagerly anticipating, the Modron. They included 5 new Modrons. I love that. I found their design interesting and the art great. And Mort's appearance isn't the only reference to Torment, because the adventure begins the same place as the game. The third book, the adventure Turn of Fortune's Wheels, does something interesting with the characters. The premise is that the characters are the subject of a multiversal glitch that's affecting both them and the Outlands. The characters awake in Sigil with amnesia and ally with an Arcanoloth named Shemeshka to track down the Modron that's causing the glitch. And this glitch is the most interesting thing in this adventure, because when a character dies, a different version of themselves shows up to take their place. That's right, your player characters will have respawn. The adventure asks each player to make a character and 2 more versions of that character to take their place when they die. The adventure takes players across Sigil and is exploration focused. However, it does seem to have a pacing problem. The adventure asks you to go from locale to locale and explore and to have fun with the quirkiness of Planescape. The bottom line is that the adventure seems to go fast and your players will level up quickly. The adventure asks you to go from locale to locale and explore and to have fun with the quirkiness of Planescape. And while there are many chapters to the adventure does not provide much to do at each locale. My impression is that this adventure will ask the DM to bring out the weird, bring out the fun, lean into and enjoy the absurdity of the worlds and the ideologies of the factions taken to their extreme. A DM will likely need to flesh out the adventure with interesting NPCs and activities to slow the pace down. But in actual play, and depending on the group, this might not actually be a bad thing. You might want to go fast. And that's our spotlight of this new release. I believe this is a worthy successor to Planescape, and I do think anyone could pick this up and get use from it. Either a Planescape veteran or somebody that's never touched Planescape. There's plenty in here to run a quirky and vibrant adventure. However, I do expect there to be plenty of community resources to flesh this place out, as is typical of WoTC releases. So thanks for watching and listening. Wiz and Pippy are ready for their next adventure, so let me know in the comments what you might want covered next, and please share your favorite thing about Planescape and Planescape memories.